Hi, I'm Billy Keels, the host of the Going Long podcast. Every week, I'm going to be here interviewing the absolute best in the business as it relates to real asset investing, as well as real Main Street investors. We're going to be having conversations where you can listen in, and that's going to help you to continue on your path to education so that you feel much more comfortable as well as confident in investing long distance. So make sure that you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you're liking it as well, because that way you can get every single episode as soon as it comes out. And by the way, don't forget to leave today's episode a 5-star review. Let's go ahead and listen to today's conversation. Welcome to the Going Long podcast. We're back once again to continue to help to educate you so that you feel much more comfortable as well as confident investing beyond your backyard. I'm your host, Billy Keels. And you know what? If you want to know everything about commercial real estate from A to Z, then guess what? This is the conversation that you're definitely going to want to listen to until the very last word. I promise. You know why? Because today's guest, well, not only is originally from Brazil and now calls the U.S. home. I'm not going to say exactly where because our guest is going to tell you where the guest lives. Also comes from an extremely strong sales and sales leadership background, especially in the IT sector. And guess what? There's a whole bunch of IT salespeople and sales leaders listening and watching us today. So that's going to be kind of cool as well. She's also very focused on value add commercial properties, and she's the principal at Monte Carlo Real Estate Investments, as well as the host of the extremely popular podcast, Commercial Real Estate from A to Z. It gives me great pleasure to welcome to today's conversation, Steffany Boldrini. Steffany, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Billy. It's such a pleasure.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to today's conversation. Like we were mentioning before, last time we talked, you're in an airport and you're flying all over the place and cool. And I'm ready to actually start getting on airplanes and flying and seeing people. And I can't wait for the entire Going Long family to get to know more about you and the way that you are going out and positively impacting other people's lives today. So, Steffany, everybody gets the same 5 questions here. You're going to get 2 in the beginning. You're going to get 3 in the end. And then in the middle, well, I've got probably a whole bunch of questions, but they're going to show up as a result of our conversation. So you know what? Yeah. I'm ready for us to get into the conversation.
Let's go.
All right. I knew you were going to say you'd be ready to go. So listen, so the very first question, love for you to help the Going Long family know, where do you actually live in the U.S.?
I live in San Francisco, California.
I think we've heard of that once or twice, especially for any of us that are in the IT space, especially software, out on the left coast, we like to call it. So I appreciate that. And then what is the most positive thing that's happened to you in the last 24 hours?
The most positive thing is my 30 ingredient smoothie that I have every morning. I think it just keeps me going for the day and it gives me amazing energy.
Wow, 30 ingredient smoothie to start the day. Well, I'm not going to ask you to name all 30 ingredients, obviously. But what are some of the maybe like the ones that maybe most people wouldn't think about that are part of this?
Baobab, lucuma, matcha, hemp seeds, and a few more things.
Oh, very cool. All right, awesome. You said mama?
Baobab. It's an African fruit, I believe.
Okay, very cool. Baobab. So I appreciate you sharing the positivity with us, getting things started. And you know what, Steffany, I always try, at least in like the first 10 or 15 seconds when I'm introducing you, give the entire Going Long family a little bit of way to know a little bit about you. And I try my best, but it's like impossible to tell your whole story in 10, 20 seconds. So could you do us a favor and share your backstory with us? And along the way, Steffany, if you could also maybe just highlight a couple of the important milestones or maybe some of the tougher decisions that you had to make to get to this point in your journey. And then from there, you and I will take the conversation and kind of see wherever it goes.
Yes, absolutely. Great question. I was born and raised in Brazil, as you mentioned, and came here when I was 18, thank God, and thanks to my stepfather who married my mom and was crazy, what some would say, enough to bring us all here. And it's been a blessing, and came straight to Silicon Valley, and an incredible place to be in. And didn't know anything about entrepreneurship, tech, nothing. And it's just, it goes to show how important it is who you hang out with and where you live and who are you surrounding yourself with, because just by the fact of being here, decided to have my own startup, which didn't work out so well, but an incredible, amazing, humbling experience that I would not have traded for anything. And also ended up in tech sales, which was also phenomenal. And as you know, is a great career to be in to start your nest egg. And jumped into real estate investing about 3 years ago, which was probably the one of the boldest things I could have done, because coming from a successful career in sales to this is you take a huge pay cut in the beginning. And you just need to power through that and make your money multiply. And I'm finally getting to that level that I'm feeling pretty confident about the future. And things are finally falling into place.
Fantastic. So you've got a number of things that are falling into place. You got to the US when you were 18 and you've already had a startup or opportunity. Humbling, as you said, and I'm sure you learned so much from that opportunity, as well as being able to be in the IT sector, right? Specifically in tech. And I know you've done a number of sales and sales leadership, a lot of different sales motions as well, which I think is fantastic. But there's something that you've put out on the table really early. And it is this experience, because, like I mentioned, we have a lot of people that are listening and watching us that are high-tech IT sales leaders and sales executives, and recognizing that there's still something else out there. Happy with doing what we're doing, right? But there's just that little bit more that figuring out, well, what exactly is there. But you jumped in and you did a startup. Like a lot of people think about like, hey, I've got this great idea, and hey, I want to do this, and hey, I want to do that. But can you tell us maybe a little bit about like what drove you? What was the impetus to actually get you to be audacious enough to go out and start your own company, and kind of what are some of the lessons that you learned through that?
Sure. Well, it was a marketplace for natural, organic, non-toxic products. And it was really my deep passion. And I never wanted to work for other people. I felt that when we take charge of our destiny, we can grow more. Mm-hmm. Despite, the fact that sometimes you get lucky enough to join a startup that will be one of those huge unicorns. So besides that, I think we should all take really charge of our destiny. And that's why I decided to jump right into the startup world. I did not have a co-founder. I'm not the technical person. So it took meeting about 40 people to get a co-founder. And it took actually having things started in one way or another, despite not knowing how to code. I had to get the website going somehow, and in order to attract a good co-founder. And, you learn so much. You literally work 24/7 every single day of the week. It's nonstop. And again, very humbling experience. Learned a lot from my mistakes. And happy to jump into them if you'd like, or however you want to take the conversation.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get into some of those mistakes. And there's a couple things before we jump into some of those. So you've started up your own company. As you mentioned, this humbling experience. You have been in sales yourself, and you know a lot of the rewards that can go with sales, especially when you're selling and you're in a market leading company, or you're in a very globally recognized brand, or one that's very well funded. And you've also been on the leadership side of things. So working with salespeople to make sure that you're creating the right environment for them to go out and leading through people. And so you've done all that, but then you eventually got to real estate. So my first question is, what was it that inspired you 3 years ago to decide that you actually wanted to even get involved in real estate?
Very easy. I was inevitably looking at investing in startups as an angel investor, and did that in the beginning. And the person I was dating at the time was a very successful real estate investor. And it became over time very, very clear that, at least compared to angel investing, that investing in real estate is by far a much better form of investing, because of several reasons, especially as an angel investor, not a venture capitalist.
Right. So I was just going to say, so a lot of people that are listening, and they're, like I said, a lot of IT salespeople. So help us understand the distinction: angel investors and venture capitalists. What's the big difference?
Yeah, an angel is someone who really is doing it basically by yourself, and you are putting small amounts of money into a startup at the very, very, very early stage. And so you really are betting on the founders. And a lot of times, especially nowadays, there is no product or no customers. And so you really are betting on the people. And so the problem with angel investing is that not only are you putting up you're putting money at a very risky time in the company, you also you need to keep investing once they start getting venture capital, the same amount of percentage wise money in order for you to keep the percentage that you invested initially. But also the venture capitalists, they can create, they have a lot of things that will benefit them, and that the angel investors who were there in the beginning they get basically not wiped out, but the venture capital, for example, let's say a company had $100 million in investments and they did not do well, but they were able to sell for $100 million. The VCs get that money first, even though they came later. Yeah. So it's much riskier, and we get dinged when the VCs come along. And those are just a couple of things.
And so I love that you're helping us understand that relationship, because one, and I'll just also put it in kind of the terminology that we'll see a lot when you are an angel investor and you're in early and you say you place a small amount of capital. I guess that's all relative depending on where people are, right? But you have this, if you want to maintain your ownership position, typically it's like a continuous capital call. So it's like you're continuously having to dump money in it. And so at a certain point, you kind of have to decide, does this make sense or does it not? Always recognizing that someone that comes in later, typically the venture capitalist, will be more senior in terms of the way that they are recuperating not only their principal, but also the any earnings above that. So I appreciate you sharing that. But then so you actually, to getting into real estate, I want to also understand, because you said as an angel, you were seeing with your partner that there was this different world, and this was a real world. Because when I say real assets, meaning like things you could tangibly touch, real estate. So what were some of the things that you were scratching your head going, well, hang on a second, this is actually makes a lot more sense over here?
Yeah. So not only 90% of most wealth made in the last 2 centuries was made through real estate, but also you get so many other benefits. So there's depreciation, there is property appreciation. The rents increase between anywhere from, it can be every 6 months if you're in self-storage, all the way to every 5 years if you're in some commercial, or 10 years, et cetera. And so over time, the property obviously increases in value. And the beautiful thing about it is that you can refinance, take that initial investment out and put in another property. And that's what everybody knows here, probably. That's what they call the infinite cash flow. So you have zero money on that initial property, and now you take that initial investment out and you put in another investment, and you can grow from there.
And we're big fans of infinite returns here. So when you can do that, that's great. And the fact that you were able to see that firsthand, I'm sure it was something that you thought, okay, well, let me try more of this. Now, one of the things that we also like to talk about, or I always ask this kind of question, because the whole premise of this podcast is, I read a lot of books, and I read that Purple Book like so many other different people. And I started then binge reading a bunch of other books about investing in real estate. And Steffany, a lot of those books that I was reading, like either they said it, like you need to buy the property and you need to live near the property so that you can go check things out, make sure that everything is okay. Or it was kind of insinuating that you should live in the same city where you buy or invest your property to be a landlord. And so I feel like the majority of people are taught that if you're going to invest in real estate, you need to be in the same place that you invest. I fundamentally don't believe that, because I've lived in Barcelona, Spain, and for the last 7 years, every single asset because it's no longer just it's not any longer just real estate. It's real estate. I passively invest in ATM machines. I syndicate capital for energy equipment. And so there's a lot of other things that happen. But the one thing that's always the same is I've never been in the same location. So I fundamentally believe that you don't have to be in the same location as the assets that you are owning or controlling or investing in. And so I'm always really interested to know from other guests like yourself, because I happen to know you. Well, we all know now you live on the West Coast of the US, but you invest in places that are not just in California, right? You invest in a number of different states or locations. But why has that strategy of being able to use what I'll call long distance investing, or what we like to call long distance investing here, like why would you even do that, knowing that it is completely contrarian and goes against what 95% of the books actually tell us to do?
The books and my own mentor is like, you should always invest within 2 hour driving distance. And that was how I was going about it until, the numbers did not make sense here at this point in time. And so I found a few properties far from here that did make sense. And I think one of the reasons that today it makes more sense than before is because of technology. We can do so much through technology. In fact, for me, the word of the year this year is delegate. I want to delegate as much as I possibly can. And most of my delegation will be through technology and people that I've never met, like my VA. And so far it's working great. I have never seen my properties before I bought them.
Well, okay. So you're in great company here with us then. So one of the things then you talked about, a lot of it is the numbers. So that is the economics of investing your time and your capital, your energy, and you want to get the greatest return on that. A lot of times that's economical, and then it can also be other things, quality of life, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I want to go down this technology track because there are a lot of technology people here, and you're thinking, well, what do you mean technology? So give us a couple of examples of how you are using technology to actually achieve your business goals and help your investors.
Great question. So let's start with staffing. And I think today a great way to get people is where they are being rated, because all they care about are their ratings. So I go to Upwork and Fiverr and I look for the top rated people, and that's how I start. So that's for hiring people that will do work for you virtually. And I met a girl here in California, actually. She's doing an amazing job. And I'm so excited to have her. And never met her in person, never even had a call with her. So another way is through voice over IP, for example. For some of my properties, we take a lot of phone calls. So having these calls being redirected to whoever, and people can text. And, this new generation, they don't really want to talk on the phone, which is something that a lot of people are not doing. They're not texting their customers, for example, for self-storage, right? Oh, we just want to confirm your appointment today. And people respond to that. It's very similar to sales, right? Follow up. And that's how you get people to show up when otherwise they wouldn't. What other ways? We can do so much to tech, right?
Yeah,
having our own podcast.
Yeah, I think those are. You've given us two very concrete examples, right? And especially that last one, I really like that because you're talking about using something as simple as an SMS, which is technology as well, and you're doing that from a centralized place to improve the experience and enhance the engagement that you would have either with a prospective customer, with someone who's already a client, and you're also using technology to continue to build your team in the delegation. Because at the end of the day, and as you know, and a lot of our audience knows, or a lot of our Go Along family is, as you start to grow your dream, it will beyond, you can't do everything because there's only 24 hours in a day. So you need to make sure that you have the right people, as Jim Collins would say, the right people on the bus. And if you can, and when you're effectively using technology, it's just a way for you to be able to accelerate that. So we talked about commercial real estate investing from A to Z. And so you tend to know a little bit about this kind of stuff because you like playing in the commercial real estate space. And I know that you have enjoyed everything from retail. You're talking about self-storage, industrial, these types of things. So maybe give us an idea of some of the different areas and what, or I guess, why you've decided that that's the space that you'd like to play in, and also maybe some of the different areas specifically that you're really focused on now.
I, by chance, got into car washes of all things because I was looking for a self-storage property and came across this portfolio that the owner was selling, and it included car washes. And I'm like, how hard could it be to manage a car wash from far away? Little did I know. I didn't even know what a bay was. I didn't even know what a pump was. And managed to get it.
I bet you know what they are. I bet you know what those things are now, right?
Yes. So the reason why I got into car washes was really because of the returns, the cash on cash. Today is not. It hasn't even been a year. Is at least 36%. Probably going to be 50% next year. And for me, it has been all about the numbers. And in other asset classes like retail, you can add value significantly just by increasing rent. So if you have a tenant that has a lease that is expiring and that lease is below market, if you increase the lease, because everything is based on the cap rate, you increase the value of the property significantly. So there are all kinds of ways that you can add value in real estate. The other one, as I mentioned, is self-storage. I just thought it was a super simple asset class that you can easily scale and increase rents faster than even multifamily, and got into that. And it's been, there are all kinds of properties that you can find where you can add values one way or another.
And so it's really about being able to add value. As you mentioned, you can do it however you want to be able to do it. And there's also an element of that, whether you are in self-storage, you're in a car wash, or you are in some type of industrial space. Actually, can we come back to the car wash? Or let me come back to the car wash for a second, because I think you're the first person who's ever talked about car washes, right?
I know.
But one of the things that I really like about when you have the mindset and you start to look at outside of Wall Street, right? You look outside of Wall Street and you start recognizing a lot of us alternative assets. We start in real estate. We see this, and we think traditional residential real estate. And you may start single family, and then you start recognizing you want something bigger. But I've also found this pattern, and you're a great representation of that, is you enter, but then you see other new possibilities all the way to like coming up with car wash. Now, you talked about the car wash it had great returns, economic returns. But maybe you could talk to us a little bit about kind of, because you laughed in the beginning and saying you didn't know what certain things, you didn't know what a bay was, you didn't want to know what other things were. Talk to us maybe a little bit about that, because you're in California, and maybe as you started to find out about a car wash, maybe what your thought process was through deciding, hey, listen, this is something that's new. You got involved in that, and as you started getting involved, some of the lessons that you were learning.
Yes, as far as car washes, it has not been a year yet. So I want to decide if I would do it again after a full year, and also delegating as much as I can. But I did not know anything about the asset class, and it's basically a lot of moving parts. Something breaks every day. People try to steal, and where I bought it, within 9 days of closing, one of the roofs caved. Thank God for insurance. Nationwide is indeed by your side. They send out the payment within 2 weeks to get the roof fixed. And the employee quit, and I was doing everything from here. But again, through tech, right? You can get everything done so fast. So start researching a staffing agency that has high ratings on Google, and posted an ad on Craigslist. And I had somebody there interview some of the people. Whoever we hired the next day actually did not end up working out. But you can do all of these things from far away. And, you just ask people, who should I talk to? What can I do? So in terms of adding value on car washes, I learned that if the car wash it only accepts money and coins today, you can add credit card acceptance and you automatically increase revenue that way. And there are many other things you can do in car washes to increase value. You can add a dog wash. Who would have known?
So did you just say a dog wash at a car wash?
Yes.
That's weird. How does that work?
You just add a little bay. I haven't done that yet, where people come to wash their dogs.
Okay, yeah, sure. Why not? It's a change of use, right? It's a change of use play. This is one of the ways that you can that you are able to force appreciation. So why not?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Why not? It makes sense.
Yeah. Many other ways. You can have a snow cone machine, a snow cone vendor there. What else can you do? Dog wash. There was something else. You can have subscriptions, and there are a lot of different things you can do. And I have a feeling it might be the next self-storage in terms of becoming a potentially hot asset class. I don't know yet if people are really going to do that, because it is indeed a ton of moving parts, but there is a lot of untapped car washes out there that you can definitely add value.
Well, and I think what is great is typically when you're on the front end of recognizing this market potential, right? Because a lot of times there's a lack of efficiencies in markets, and it sounds like car washes, this is an area where there's definitely a lack of efficiencies. And when you can bring that efficiency and bring the right team, processes, procedures in place, then you're able to capture that opportunity, right? And at the same time, you're learning a lot, and I'm sure you will be the head person of car washes probably all across the United States sometime. Well, we'll see. We'll see after the first year.
Yeah.
Which I love that. Also, too, I think, Steffany, from a mindset perspective, and this is really inspirational, I believe, for a lot of the Going Long family, is that you've clearly stated that you're going to give yourself a year. You are starting in this new asset area, and you're giving yourself a year to make the decision whether or not you continue to move forward or you just maintain what you have and maybe optimize that. Was that accurate? Did I accurately?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Exactly.
Right. Okay, cool. So one of the other things that I did want to ask you, because like I said, there's a lot of tech and salespeople here and sales leaders that are here and watching us and listening to us. I really enjoy this space, and I absolutely adore being able to help bring people together and help them get to their goals and dreams, right? At the same time, recognize I've learned a lot of really valuable or invaluable sometimes skills from the large multinational. And I'm just curious from you, since you've had that experience and you come from an IT background and financial services and a number of other things as well, kind of what were some of the things that you would say that you did learn and you took away from your IT sales leadership and sales experience that are really helping you to add a lot of value to people today?
Oh, if you're in sales, you can succeed at this. No doubt about it. We are good listeners. We ask a lot of questions. Like you, we take good notes if you're a good salesperson. You follow up. Becoming on the buyer side through real estate, I think I can count in 2 fingers how many people followed up with me from the sales side. Nobody follows up. So following up from in any aspect of real estate is so important and valuable. Very few people do. So those are just some of the skills that will translate really, really well to real estate.
Fantastic. So that being able to actively listen to people, being able to ask the right questions, being able to, I guess, ask the better the questions that you ask, the better the answers that you get, and then having that consistent follow-up and being able to do that in a way that is helping you to impact other people. So I know that also too, one of the things that you have had a passion for and a strength is being able to give back. And I know you have done volunteering. A lot of times people think, well, you're getting into real estate or you're getting into these like investing in tangible assets and you just want to make a lot of money. You want to make more money. And at the end of the day, like making money is something that's helpful as long as you're then using your time effectively and your time and your resources effectively. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about the importance of volunteering and the way that has also helped you to make an impact on others?
I have to be honest, I don't volunteer much. I have volunteered before.
Yeah.
I prefer to just, give a little bit there, here and there.
Well, and so that was my question was more related to what you have, like why volunteering was something that has been important to you. Like it's something that you've done. Like a lot of people, and I guess maybe to put it a different way, a lot of people have been in sales roles, and the idea is, hey, listen, I'm eventually going to give back, and I'm eventually going to do this. And then 30 years later, you've earned a lot of money, but you've always thought about volunteering and giving your time, and you've always thought about volunteering and providing your capital or your resources, but 30 years later, you've not done any of it. And so early on, something that you were doing was volunteering. And then aside from being able to network and meet other people, it manifests itself in a different way today, but it was just maybe that genesis or the beginnings of your volunteering and how that's affecting you today.
Yeah, I heard once before that if you don't give, at the beginning stage of your career or whatever you want to say it, you will never end up giving, because you always say, when I have X, that's when I'll give. Right. And so it's a good idea, at least from my perspective, to give a little bit in the beginning, because you just make sure that you have that certain amount set for giving back to the community. So that's all I have to share about that.
Okay. All right. Sounds great. And then tell us, if you can, Steffany, share a bit with us about what you're doing with Monte Carlo real estate investments, and who are the people that you're actually helping today?
Yeah, today, eventually I would like to start syndicating, but wanted to get some properties under my belt to prove to people that, yes, we can make this happen. And here are the really good returns that we have made happen so far. So the goal will be to eventually have passive investors with Monte Carlo and join and expand that way and give people some cash flow.
Fantastic. Well, love being able to do that. And then also too, and I do want to ask about the podcast. And the reason, a lot of times, and it goes back to people thinking that I want to do this. I'm thinking to do this, or I'm going to try to do this. And it's really nice when you see that people are actually doing. And you had the thought of being able to go out and create a podcast. Everybody does it for different reasons. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more about commercial real estate investing from A to Z, why you were thinking about doing it, why you actually did it, and yeah, just to help us learn a little bit more about your podcast.
Yeah, great question. So after my boyfriend and I broke up, I'm like, oh Lord, who's going to be my mentor now? So, but I had already one episode recorded that was there for 6 months that I did not have the courage to put out. But when the relationship terminated,
you're not the only one, by the way. There's another person here that had one episode recorded, and it took about 6 months to get the next one. So
I'm sure
anyway, sorry about
first
that.
One is the hardest.
Yeah.
So my thought process was, I have to do this because I need to meet other people in the industry because, as we all know, we cannot do anything by ourselves. And that's how I really decided to post that first episode. And I got to meet some incredible people and learn so much through the podcast. And I know that I can reach out to every single one of them at any time. And another reason was also to get my name out, because unfortunately I have to syndicate. I don't have $1 billion, to invest in real estate yet.
I was going to say, not yet.
But another reason is also to give really good content to people, because I believe in only having the best people, as you probably believe in that, because I've seen some of your episodes. They're incredible people.
Thank you
as well.
Much. Yes. And so when you're able to focus that, and thank you very much, just one of the things we pride ourselves in having phenomenal guests like you here sharing your stories. And it's great when you finally push record and you publish that first episode and you get that kind of out of the way. And then you start realizing that not only are you able to learn and grow, you're able to also share that growth with your entire family, as I like to say here, your tribe, your community, however people want to call it. And knowing that you have this space in the commercial real estate from A to Z, definitely check it out. Going Long Family. Steffany's doing a lot of wonderful content there, creating a lot of wonderful content, has phenomenal guests as well. So, and when you're ready to learn and go even deeper in commercial real estate, definitely check her out over there. So, Steffany, here's the thing. Like, I want to keep talking to you. I really do. I promise. And I'm sure we could just keep talking forever. But the thing is, we have to get to the Going Long final three. And the thing is, I never ask any guest, and I'm not going to start today. I never ask any of the Going Long final three until you tell me that you're ready for me to ask. So, are you ready?
I am ready.
I knew you would be ready. So, and I know you're well traveled. So here we go. We started with you way over on the left coast in the United States. And now I'd like to bring it all the way back over here to this side of the pond, over near the Mediterranean or somewhere over here. But if you could do us a favor, could you share with me and the Going Long family, what is your favorite European city that either you visited or still on your bucket list to visit?
Yeah, so many amazing cities, but the one that stuck out was actually one that you're probably very familiar with, Costa Brava in your
Yes.
beautiful country.
Yes.
Amazing, peaceful, beautiful, quaint place in Spain to visit.
Yes, La Costa Brava is very, very nice in a wonderful area just north of here and near Barcelona. So yes, fantastic. So we'll make sure that is included in the show notes. And then the other thing is question number 2, and it has to do with lessons learned. And one of the things with successful people that I've recognized, Steffany, and you're someone who's very successful. I've recognized this in this pattern that really successful people have, because a lot of different mistakes, people make mistakes or learning opportunities or whatever one you call them. But the thing that is really different about successful people is that really successful people, they've only made one mistake, which is the reason that they're successful and gets them. I think I got that wrong. Yeah, I definitely got it wrong. It's by design. Don't worry. No, so the kind of just as a joke, right? The thing is, nobody makes one mistake in their entire life. And the thing is, successful people definitely don't make one mistake. They make a whole lot more mistakes, typically, than most people. But what really successful people do, Steffany, that I've noticed that's very different, and this is true, this is real, is that not only not being afraid to make mistakes, and a lot more mistakes than most people, very successful people typically do one thing differently. They stop and they learn from the mistake. And then not only do they learn from it, then they apply the lesson so that they don't make the same mistake again. So if you could think about the different mistakes or learning opportunities that you've had, what is the one lesson that you know would be really important for the Going Long family to help each and every one of us to continue to move forward faster?
With regards to careers, regardless of real estate, the most important one was focus. Do one thing and do it really, really, really well. And that was a mistake I learned from my startup. We opened up to every single category under the sun when we should have opened to one. And then you can expand after you're known for that one thing, like Amazon did with books, for example.
Yeah. And now look where they are.
Yep.
But they focused. They got that whole distribution and stuff down pat. They started in one place, and definitely. So appreciate that. So focus. And then the very last of the Going Long final 3, Steffany, has to do with knowledge, helping to feed our brains. What is the one book that you would recommend to the Going Long family?
I'd recommend for commercial real estate, Confessions of a Real Estate Entrepreneur by James Randall. It was the best book that, if you don't know anything about commercial, you can really have a really good grasp on commercial real estate and how to add value.
Perfect. Confessions of a Commercial Real Estate.
Confessions.
Okay. Confessions of a Commercial Real Estate Investor. Yeah.
Confessions of a Real Estate Entrepreneur.
Okay. Of a real estate entrepreneur. Okay. Perfect. I knew eventually I'll get it right. See, there you go. You got to just keep repeating things sometimes. But more importantly, we're definitely going to make sure that that book is in the show notes. So, wow, Steffany, these conversations go by so fast. I just can't believe that they always go by so fast. And so the thing is, I'm just thinking we're starting from the very beginning. You're telling us your story, being born in Brazil. You come here at 18 and your family's here and you get started and you wanted to be able to do new, different things. You got a startup. It was a humbling experience for you. After that, you decided that you wanted to start being around and betting on and continuing to grow. And you were doing that through IT sales and you were in financial services, and through it all, you continue to move forward and you continue to move forward. You're learning new things, you're applying them, and you are continuing to move forward, and you're moving forward faster. And you're even in areas, not just from investing, you talked about being an angel investor, you're continuing to do that even today, even in areas like car washes, which is phenomenal. You're doing that local, or you're doing that long distance, which is something that is also very, very close to our hearts here on the Going Long podcast. And I know that I want to keep talking to you. And I know that there's so many people from the Going Long family are thinking, wow, Steffany's awesome. I want to get in touch with her. I want to find out more about what she's doing. I want to find out more about her podcast. So help us understand, what is the best way for the Going Long family to learn more about you and to get in touch with you?
I am on LinkedIn. You can add me and reach out to me through there, or our website, montecarlo.rei.com.
Fantastic. So Going Long family, go check out montecarlo.rei.com. And also, could you do Steffany and I a favor? When you reach out to her on LinkedIn, can you please let her know, definitely let her know that you heard the two of us, or you watched the two of us, me and Steffany, have the conversation here on the Going Long podcast. It's going to help you and Steffany continue the conversation with the right context. So don't just do a normal LinkedIn without giving any context. Let her know where you heard or watched her. So I would appreciate that. And listen, Steffany, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time and investing your time with me and the entire Going Long family. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Billy. It was such a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right, perfect. And if you give me just a couple seconds, I just want to say the final words to the Going Long family, please. And listen, Going Long family, didn't you just love Steffany's story, all the things that she's been doing and the action that she's been taking and the results that she's been getting and the lessons she's been learning and also sharing? And you know that the story that she told, like, you know, at least 2 or 3 people that need to hear Steffany's story. You know that you can also be the person that's helping and be the person of influence in their life. So take just a second, take your phone out of your pocket or wherever you're watching and share today's episode. Just share it with 2 or 3 other people. Because look, you know, you can make that impact and you know the person needs to hear it. And since you have your phone out, well, you know what, why don't you just take a second and also just leave a nice written review, or an honest written review, probably better stated, an honest written review and rating. Let me know, what are the things that you liked about the conversation? What are the things that you want to hear more of? And also, what are the things that you want us to also adapt or change or modify or add more of or do less of on the podcast? I go through every single one of these so that we can continue to bring you quality content week in, week out. And so I'm really looking forward to welcoming you back on the very next conversation. So until then, go out and make it a great day. And thank you very much.
Wow, don't you love hearing from top-notch experts in the field? You know, when I was getting started, I really wish that I would have had access to such experts. And even more, I wish they would have given me like a really simple list of things to follow so that I could have gotten to my goals much faster and been much happier even sooner. So that's why I've created for you the 7 things that you should avoid in order to be successful in long distance investing. And you can pick that up really easily by going to billykeels.com/7 things to avoid. And also, if you liked today's episode, don't forget to leave a 5-star review. I'm looking forward to seeing you on our very next episode, so go out and make it a great day.